This is Rural Health Leadership Radio.
Episode 165, a conversation with Dr. Maria Ryan, Chief Executive Officer of Cottage Hospital in Woodsville, New Hampshire.
Create a vision, a realistic vision, and work towards it. Talk about it because other people may be thinking about it too.
Welcome to the Rural Health Leadership Radio with your host, Dr. Bill Oxier. Each week, Dr. Oxier has a conversation with a different rural health leader to discuss what's working and what's not working in rural health, along with other topics of interest to rural health leaders. Rural Health Leadership Radio's goal is to improve health in rural America by providing a simple, no-cost means to share information and connect rural health leaders from around the country. And now, here's Dr. Oxier with today's guest.
Hi, everybody. I am your host, Dr. Bill Oxier, and welcome to Rural Health Leadership Radio. I would like to thank Bill Oxier Healthcare Executive Coaching for underwriting the cost of today's episode. But more importantly, I want to thank today's guest, Dr. Maria Ryan, for taking time out of her busy schedule to have a conversation with us today. Welcome to Rural Health Leadership Radio, Maria.
Thank you, Bill. I'm really excited for this new challenge of being on a podcast.
Well, I'm excited to have you here and taking on that challenge. Dr. Maria Ryan is the Chief Executive Officer of Cottage Hospital, which is located in Woodsville, New Hampshire. So, Maria, tell us about yourself. Who is Dr. Maria Ryan? What's your story?
What a great question. I think my story starts when I was 16 years old. I was done with high school. I got married, immediately had 3 children, but realized I think I was a waitress at the time. My husband was a cook in IHOP. We worked opposite shifts, so no one watched our children but us. But we were living in poverty, and it just hit me. My goals that I had for my children, i.e. going to a Catholic school, were never going to come to fruition unless one of us went to college. And my husband said, you know what? I think you're the better bet. You've been very good in math and science, and you're really socially adept. So I think it's you. And my sister had said, all our lives, you've been good at looking out after other people. In school, you tutored other people. In 4th grade at St. Raphael's School, I was asked to teach a Venezuelan priest English.
Oh, wow.
So I was always given these tasks of what I call leadership and great authority at young ages. And I was always good with people. So I came up with nursing. Number one, to get a nursing degree was 2 years to start out with. So It was pretty darn quick.
Yep. And
going to a state school, pretty economical. And I thought I could do it, doing it half-time with 3 children. So I worked as an LNA. At that time, it was called a Certified Nursing Aide, CNA.
Yes.
And so I worked 32 hours on the weekend. I worked on Friday from 3 in the afternoon to 7 in the morning, and I did the same on Saturday. So during the week, I went to college.
Wow.
And then when I graduated from my first degree program, I made $13,000 a year, and we thought we were rich. So we really did. We decided at that time that it would be best if my husband stayed home and I had the career. And then I ended up in the organization that was very pro-education. So luckily, that hospital paid for me to go on for my bachelor's degree and paid a lot of my master's degree.
Wow.
And then I became a nurse practitioner, boarded in family practice. And I was always, though, torn, Bill, between providing direct care, which I knew I was really clinically astute. I was really, really good as a diagnostician.
Yes.
But I was always conflicted with leadership. I always held these positions of leadership, but also did clinical. And I vacillated for several years until I finally jumped in that I would be 100% leadership. And I started as director of an emergency department, then director of multiple departments, then Chief Nursing Officer, Chief Operating Officer, and finally Chief Executive Officer. But I have to say, I do maintain all my licenses, and through the years, I still do some shifts here and there, mainly in an emergency department, even in my own emergency department here at Cottage Hospital. If there's multiple traumas or a lot going on in the emergency department, or if unfortunately a doctor calls out sick and they're trying to find somebody, I might jump in for a few hours and see patients.
Wow, what an interesting journey. Thank you for sharing that with us. You know, you and I do share something in common. We both started out as nurses' aides in a hospital on our journey to becoming CEOs, but the only difference is I was milking cows on a dairy farm. I wasn't working at IHOP before I became a nurse.
I love it. And IHOP has good memories for me because that's where I met my husband.
Yeah, that's cool. What a story and a journey. So you've kind of touched on this. Why did you choose healthcare as an occupation? What encouraged you to go to nurses training that initial time?
Yeah, I remember one time before I even had a driver's license, my older sister was driving and we came upon an accident. And it was pretty horrific to see all of this unfolding. And we were stunned as young people. And my sister literally said to me, "Maria, you're good with people. Go and help those people." I believe I was about 14. Wow. And there was people screaming. There was a lot of chaos. And I just went out there and tried to comfort people, told them to stay still. When the police and ambulance ended up on scene, I ended up giving them a report. I was never trained to do that. Yeah. I just naturally said, "This is what happened. Her neck hurts. I have her down here lying down." And that was kind of the beginning pieces of thinking about nursing. Definitely prior in my life, I knew I had the ability to speak in a language that other people could understand because I would often tutor. And even if I wasn't tutoring officially, kids in the class would ask me, "Hey, can you help me understand the science?" So I knew I had a gift in teaching as well. So I had the compassion, I had the teaching, I was awfully good in math and science, and as a nurse, you really need those two things as core, math and science. So I thought nursing is the way for me, and it's such a respected profession.
Yes.
That, I'm like, it's an honorable profession, and that was part of my inner core too. At one time I thought I was going to be a nun. So it was always about giving to others, giving of myself. So the next best thing, I was married with children. I couldn't be a nun. Yeah. I was going to be a nurse. Okay. So that's how it all began.
Very interesting. So why the focus on rural health?
Well, I started out with Healthcare Corporation of America, a for-profit chain. When I got into leadership, I was in community hospitals prior to that, but definitely when I got in the leadership ranks, I was with a for-profit organization. Many of their hospitals were in the southern states.
Yes.
So I moved and I would improve hospitals financially, quality, but I was yearning to get back in New Hampshire. It was part of my soul. It was where my family was. And when I was coming back, the only thing open was Cottage Hospital. And I said to myself, "Oh my God, I'm coming from a 400-bed hospital in Pennsylvania. We have a lot of competition all the time. It's go, go, go. What the heck am I going to do all day in a 25-bed rural critical access hospital?" I didn't even understand the designation critical access status.
Okay.
But I wanted to get back. When I interviewed, I fell in love with these people. It was really amazing how adaptive they were to rural conditions. It doesn't matter that they didn't have the resources. They would find a way to give the best care possible. And I was really attracted to that. So I joined the ranks of Cottage Hospital. And I have to say, I was much, much busier in the skills I needed to turn this hospital around. I wouldn't have had to utilize those skills in the large hospital because there's so many layers. You do have a lot of resources and you can spread things out. Here, I had to be knowledgeable in finance. I had to teach myself how rural hospitals, especially with the critical access designation, get paid. So I became an expert in that. I was an expert in clinical things, and I was also an expert in leadership. And that's what it takes in a small hospital to really bring it to near bankruptcy to salvation in a hospital that gets a lot of national attention.
That's wonderful. What a journey. Yes, you've mentioned leadership several times here. And as you know, the name of this program is Rural Health Leadership Radio. So what's your definition of leadership?
Yeah, that can be a complicated question, but with me, I always try to put it in the simplest terms. I believe leadership is the ability to inspire people to be the best they can be, like really pull from them to work hard, to be better, to want to educate themselves better, to be able to mentor and create that vision that everybody's excited to work towards. And that's my definition in a nutshell.
Yeah, I like the key words I picked up from your definition were inspire, mentor, vision, and be the best, of course. So some very powerful words in your definition. So thank you for sharing that with you. Now, you and I met at the NRHA, National Rural Health Association meeting in Atlanta that was held in May, and you were awarded the Lewis Gorin Award for Outstanding Achievement in Rural Healthcare. That's quite significant a recognition. What did that mean to you?
Oh, Bill, I was so humbled. I really didn't realize about the award until Donna from the National Rural Health Association called us and said it's almost like a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
And I was very humbled by that. And the whole event, it was spectacular. I was privileged to meet a lot of really good people, a lot of innovative people. And Bill, you inspired me so much of a different way to connect with people.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, before this podcast, I spent time, my mind was so curious about your equipment. What do you do? I just find it great that you're trying to reach people and educate people about rural health and rural leadership, because it is different. Having been in those different areas, tertiary, community, hospital, I can tell you it is very, very different. But it was very nice, very humbling. It meant a lot to me. I've been privileged to win Outstanding Businesswoman of the Year by the New Hampshire Business Review, Outstanding Women Leadership Awards. But this was particularly special to me. Number one, it was by an organization that recognizes the struggles in rural health and with a lot of my peers.
Yeah.
So it was a great, great time. And I was so happy that I got to meet you.
Oh, well, thank you. The same goes here. And you've done some outstanding accomplishments and received some great recognition that's well deserved. So thank you for with all those honors. Thanks for being on my program, for that matter. So can you give us an overview of Cottage Hospital and the community that you serve?
Yeah, I love this hospital so much. I feel sometimes like I'm a walking billboard of Cottage Hospital, but I'm so proud of it. It started in the early 1900s. It was a logging community, and a physician in the community said, you know what? We have to take care of our injured. We need to start a hospital. So the railroads were starting to go out. The logging wasn't as prevalent, still prevalent, but not as prevalent. And there was an abandoned tavern right near where the railroads were. So that's where the hospital started.
Okay.
And they were very progressive. I found a lot of information in the basement of the hospital that I brought up to the administrative wing and put on the walls. Not only did they start as a hospital for the injured, they started a school of nursing.
Oh, wow.
They did deliveries and complicated deliveries. There was triplets even born here way back in the early 1900s. And they had a farm. They made all their own food from their garden and beef from down the street. And they were really innovative and creative. And in 1960, they moved to the current spot. And they really pictured themselves as a small hospital, just really taking care of Woodsville, New Hampshire. But today, we take care of 13 communities on the New Hampshire side, And we take care of 13 communities on the Vermont side on what's called a border hospital.
Okay.
So we've really changed our way of thinking. And when I came here as CEO, we were struggling really bad. Financially, it looked very, very bleak. We all know that there's been about 100 hospitals that have closed since 2010.
Yes.
And I wasn't going to be one of those hospitals. If I thought the community didn't need us anymore, I'd be the first one to say, let's evolve into something different. But looking at the communities that I service, that Cottage Hospital services, we are needed. So I needed to bring out that entrepreneurship in that I have in me. And I ended up buying 26 acres near the hospital. I started a multi-specialty clinic. And today I have gastroenterologists, one that specializes in liver diseases. The other one is more of a general GI practitioner. I have general surgeons. I have endocrinologists because of diabetes and other hormonal issues. I have cardiology, dermatology, podiatry. I have a center of orthopedic excellence, and the list goes on. One area I want to emphasize is mental health. It was really important to me to embed mental health within internal medicine practice. I didn't want people fearing to go see a mental health provider because of stigmas. So I wanted it to be a natural thing. Like you go to your doctor for a physical, it's in the same place. It's not in some alley downtown that you have to be ashamed of. It's part of our health. So we were able to successfully recruit great providers for our mental health. It is definitely embedded in our internal medicine. And then on the hospital side, I thought, okay, I'm serving my 26 communities with bread and butter stuff, which is okay. I always say I'm never going to do brain surgery. I'm never going to do heart surgery. But what I do, I want to do well. And not just well, I want to be an expert in it. And I want our people to be experts in it. So we were on that journey for a few years. We definitely are doing really well. And the mental health crisis was reaching a pinnacle in New Hampshire and Vermont. In New Hampshire, we would board in our collective emergency departments up to 60 patients a day waiting for beds, for placement for beds. So even though the government caps you at 25 beds for a critical access designation, there are ways to get a few more. One of them is if you have a distinct part unit. So I developed a Geri Psych, an acute, it's not a long-term unit, but an acute Geri Psych unit that instead of being just for my community, which I knew I wouldn't be able to fill the beds, and I was looking for twofold, let's face it, to meet the needs of the region, but also to financially stabilize the hospital.
Yes.
And when I looked in the Federal Register, I realized one of the things that has never been cut is reimbursement for Geri Psych. So I got a 10-bed distinct part unit, so we're a 35-bed critical access hospital, and I made it a regional referral center. So people come from all over New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts. Our unit has been full, it's 10 beds, since opening.
Wow.
It's been a great success, and it has financially stabilized the hospital. And I have some of the best providers that work on that acute unit, and it has relieved some of the issues. Do we need much more in New Hampshire? Absolutely, to address the mental health crisis. But I feel very proud that Cottage Hospital was an entity, an atypical entity, that stood up and said, you know what, we can make a mark here, and we can help the region. So that started us thinking about regional instead of the communities we share, that we service.
Yes. Yeah, I want to applaud you on that because, too many times mental health gets kind of swept under the rug as far as I'm concerned. And so I applaud you for making that bold step for obviously many reasons, but that in particular.
Yeah, no one wants to get involved in it. And if you're talking about the younger population too, a lot of them are Medicaid reimbursement. in New Hampshire has the lowest reimbursement for Medicaid. If you're outside of Vermont and you take care of Vermont patients, it's out-of-state Vermont Medicaid, which is similar to New Hampshire. If you lived inside of Vermont and was on Medicaid, the reimbursement's actually pretty good. So it's a double whammy. So a lot of entities don't get involved in treating younger people. I happen to have a northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont, Maine. It's growing really fast in the elderly. So this niche we became experts in, and we're able to at least take care of a piece of the population with mental illness.
Thank you, Maria. Right now, we're going to take a short break. Then we'll be right back to continue our conversation with today's guest, Dr. Maria Ryan, Chief Executive Officer of Cottage Hospital. Maria was just talking about finding a niche and becoming an expert within that niche to deliver quality. You know, that's exactly what we've done, our niche being leadership development in rural health. You know, there are others out there who do leadership development, but they aren't exclusively focused on rural health leadership development, which, as we all know, is unique. You know, one of our niches is the Rural Health Cafe Mastermind Group, and we are expanding our mastermind groups to include specialty groups. Yes, we're starting a CEO group, a provider group, a chief nursing officer group, and basically whatever other type of group that you might want. Now, we will continue to have diverse groups too, with rural health leaders from a variety of positions. Regardless of which type of group you want to join, participating in the Rural Health Cafe Mastermind Group is all about giving back and helping others. Everyone gives and everyone receives, sharing ideas and alternatives and brainstorming new ideas, all sorts of things. Now, if you've ever found yourself not sure what to do next, what direction to go in, the collective power of the Rural Health Cafe Mastermind Group will kick in and help you back on track. Not only will you grow as a leader, you'll also be helping Rural Health Leadership Radio in achieving our mission. Our mission is to improve the world by engaging rural health leaders in conversations, learning, and research, and the Rural Health Cafe definitely provides a venue for conversations and learning. We do ask for a tax-deductible donation to join the Rural Health Cafe, as Rural Health Leadership Radio is a 501c3 nonprofit, and 100% of your donation helps Rural Health Leadership Radio fund that mission. And on top of that, you're going to become a more effective leader. I would love to have you join one of our groups and realize the benefits and appreciate your support of Rural Health Leadership Radio. If you're interested, send me an email to bill@billauxier.com. That's BILL@BILLAUXIER. Now, if you would like to support Rural Health Leadership Radio in achieving our mission, but not interested in joining the Rural Health Cafe, you can also go to our website and check out our donation page at www.rhlradio.com. On our donation page, we offer a variety of options to make a donation to support our mission, along with a variety of gifts and bonuses based on your donation level. You know, we offer other services too outside of the Rural Health Leadership Radio, which include one-on-one executive coaching, team coaching, community coaching, employee engagement, strategic planning facilitation, boot camps, and more. So if you're considering investing in your leadership development, we should talk. To schedule a no-obligation discovery call, just send me an email to that same email address, bill@billauxier.com. That's BILL@BILLAUXIER.com. Thank you. We're having a very interesting conversation today with Dr. Maria Ryan. Maria is the Chief Executive Officer of Cottage Hospital in Woodsville, New Hampshire. Right before the break, Maria, you were telling us about, you're giving us an overview of the hospital and the community you serve and the geriatric psych unit you created. Is there anything else that you're doing that's unique at Cottage Hospital that's making a difference?
Yes. One of the things we did, again, looking regionally, is we became a trauma-designated hospital for adults and pediatrics.
Oh, wow.
Again, very atypical for a rural hospital.
Yes.
And people told me I couldn't do it. Everyone said, you'll never recruit board-certified emergency physicians for a rural area.
I have a feeling you love challenges like that, Maria.
You are right, Bill. And I love emergency medicine. And it became an act of love because we do have a lot of traumas, not just motor vehicle accidents, but farmland accidents with machinery. So we have a lot of trauma that happens in the northern part of New Hampshire. And we were dedicated to making a difference in the outcomes of these patients who have these trauma-related injuries. And I have to tell you, like I said, everybody told me, no way are you going to get board-certified emergency physicians. Because typically you would use very competent internal medicine physicians or family practice physicians in your emergency department in rural areas. But in less than 2 years, I had 100% board-certified emergency physicians because of leadership, right? They got caught up in the vision. They love the vision of changing the outlook on how we care for trauma patients. And they loved it. They took ownership of it. They got involved in the trauma committees and worked towards that designation. We were designated on the first time when the review board came through. And we got a lot of accolades. And we not only got designated for adults, but also for pediatrics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're very, very proud of that. Now, we don't see a lot of trauma. It seems to be less and less through the years, but we're still in place to respond to any trauma that comes in. Massive bleeding, we have a massive infusion policy that normally you would only see in the large hospitals.
Yes.
So we beat the odds with that, and we practice all the time. I never, ever want one employee to ever sit on the laurels. I want them to always say, what can come into our emergency department and how are we going to respond? So we have a simulation robotic man that you could do anything with. You can program it to be having a heart attack. You can program it to have an injury. So they drill all the time to be the best that they can be.
Excellent. That's great. I love your innovation, Maria. And so I know that I'm guessing that you look at a lot of different ideas on healthcare reform, that sort of thing. So I think when we last talked, you said that you're going to be speaking at an upcoming conference. So is it related to healthcare reform or something innovative? What are you going to be talking about?
I hope your listeners come and see me. It is Becker's Healthcare CEO and CFO Conference in Chicago in November. And I've been speaking at this event for a while now, for several years, on different topics. It could be innovation in healthcare, how to make ends meet. It could be quality. I've done it all at Becker's. But this time I'm doing something a little bit different. And it's a conceptual theme on healthcare reform. A lot of times we look at, okay, you have a disease, you have an injury, you get hurt, this is what you do. And we're always talking about bending the cost curve. So, okay, insurances are going to reimburse you less. You got to find ways to do your, whatever you do in your hospital or outpatient areas, at less money, better efficiencies. That's all good. But what we're doing is chasing our tail. So I'm going to be speaking about education. Most people won't tie education to health, but it is so intertwined. I want in school us to start teaching kids actually how to take care of themselves, how to debate without getting angry, how to have a sense of ownership. History is being taken out of our classrooms. We need that sense of ownership. We need that sense of pride. We need to know how to talk to another individual with a different point of view without being angry or becoming violent. We could teach meditation, how to resolve anxiety. We have never seen so many people being diagnosed with anxiety and other mental health illnesses because nobody knows how to deal with conflict. So if we start this at a young age, including nutrition, which is big when it comes to health, we not only will bend the healthcare curve with cost, we are going to bend it for disease. Long-term diseases like chronic COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, diabetes. We're going to see that dwindle if we can start an education at a very young age with all these different things, and then to include how to be self-sufficient. We've seen a shift. We're actually becoming a little bit more European. Europeans will tend to stay in their parents' home up until they're 20, 30 years old, until they're established. When in the United States, it used to be you're 18, you should be out on your own. But we're starting to see that shift. But what's happening is young people really don't know how to be on their own as much as they were in the past. So we need to bring back the home ec, how to cook, how to have a banking account, how to save so much for your health. And then all this, I'm trying to speak kind of fast, but if you have all this going on, and then you have some health reform with cost and access, we're going to be a healthier society, not only with what people consider health, your physical well-being, but also our mental well-being.
I love the idea and the concept. So I hope your presentation goes over well and you get some disciples from that. So thank you for sharing that with us and giving us that preview of your presentation. So it's in November in Chicago at the Becker's meeting. So I have to put that on my calendar.
Yes, because I better see you, Bill.
Yes. So now I didn't have as good a math tutor as perhaps you would have been if you were my math tutor, but if I'm doing my arithmetic correctly, I think you've been the CEO at Cottage Hospital around 9 years. Is that correct?
Actually a little bit more now, since 2000. Oh yeah, you got it right. 10.
Okay. 9 or 10.
9.
I'll round up then to be correct.
Yeah.
So what do you know now that you wish you would have known when you first started there 9 or 10 years ago as the CEO?
You know, I look back and I'm always one to look at what I've done, what I could have done better. I like being nimble, so I'm never one that lets ego get in my way. If I start down a path that I don't think is healthy, I'm okay with stopping and taking a left turn, a right turn. And really, I think because I was so passionate and I saw the ability in all the employees, the hospital in itself, nothing scared me. I knew we had to go to another place, raise the bar to be sustainable. We had to survive. So I think I was just so willing to take some risks. And luckily, we were on the right track all the time with our multi-specialty clinic, with our Ray of Hope, the Jerry Psych unit. Every move we made seemed to be the right move for us.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean every day I don't think about new business opportunities. Employees give me new business opportunities. And if I start investigating and it doesn't work, I just drop it and go on to something else. I mean, it's nice that we're very, very flexible here. But really nothing stands out what I wish I would have known. I'm kind of glad I went in with the attitude, we can do it.
Yes. Makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, Maria, what scares you the most about the future of rural health?
The way insurance companies have really changed, they have a lot of power. We have one insurance company in New Hampshire that belongs to a for-profit national insurance company, and they have policies now that says if a person comes into an emergency department and they leave with a discharge diagnosis that's not an emergency, then we're going to deny the claim. Well, we've always been telling people through clinical education, we tell people if you're having chest pain, if you're sweaty, you have pain going into your arm or your jaw, go directly to your emergency department. We tell them that about strokes, call right away for an ambulance. Right. Well, sometimes these things could be different things, like take a stroke. You could have very similar symptoms of a stroke that are from a complicated migraine. Mm-hmm. So you might leave the emergency department after we made sure you weren't having a stroke with a diagnosis of a complicated migraine, and your insurance company can deny that. So some of these policies are just crazy, and it's taking a lot of the expertise out of the provider's hands by second guessing the provider.
Yes.
So I find that very concerning. I find it concerning how much government is involved in healthcare. Government is not set up like a business. So whenever you think something good is coming down the pike, it's usually a lot of regulation after that. Thankfully, President Trump has signed an executive order pretty quickly after he came into office, trying to look at small businesses and burdensome regulations. And certainly hospitals are small businesses. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean the president signs something and it happens right away. It goes to a series of other committees. We're just starting to see some of those crazy regulations that you have to hire more people to work on the paperwork than taking care of patients. We're starting to see some relief, but we have a lot of work to do with that.
Yes, that's both scary and frustrating, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me flip that question around and ask you this one. What excites you the most about the future of rural health?
The possibilities. The fact that it can be a blank canvas, that we do things differently. Instead of being very reactive, that we're very proactive. And again, starting at a young age, we're really becoming a sedentary race. The advent of these phones and iPads, and yes, it makes it convenient for business people to have it right at your hands. But you look around in a restaurant, you watch people who no longer talk to one another. They're all on their phones, and we're all sitting down too much. I think if we could start flipping what health is, it's going to be very, very exciting to bring about a healthier generation.
Absolutely. Maria, the time has flown by here. We've talked about a lot of different things. If our listeners only take one thing away from the conversation today, what should that be?
Dream and work towards your dreams. Create a vision, a realistic vision, and work towards it. Talk about it because other people may be thinking about it too, and you can make a difference.
Dr. Maria Ryan, Chief Executive Officer of Cottage Hospital, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your expertise and experience as the Chief Executive Officer of Cottage Hospital.
Thank you, Bill, and I look forward to seeing you in November.
Yes, I look forward to that too. I want to thank everybody out there for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever your favorite podcast app might be, and subscribe to Rural Health Leadership Radio. And while you're on Facebook today, even though Maria is saying, we need to put our phones down more, if you're going to be on your phone and checking Facebook, we'd also appreciate it if you give us a like on our Facebook page. Until next week, let's keep working to improve rural health, one conversation at a time.
If you would like to connect with today's guest, please send an email with your contact information to bill@billoxier.com. If you would like to be a guest or suggest someone else as a guest, have a question you would like to ask, or simply want to contact Rural Health Leadership Radio, please use that same email address, bill@